Welcome, my dear friends. This time we are meeting after a long interval. Somewhere before 1 month, the colleges were closed in the wake of the pandemic of COVID 19. Since then, a month has already been passed, and even before the colleges were closed down, your learnings in the epidemiology started long back. I think the beginning of the epidemiology lectures must have started before 2 months or 3 months. Looking to that, I would like to revise some of the basic understandings of epidemiology. And if you recall them, then perhaps we'll move gradually to the next topics. First of all, why should we study epidemiology at all? Because as a doctor, we are trained to diagnose a patient and treat the patient. But we must remember that generally, when a patient comes to the hospital, he is not the only person with that disease. There are a number of diseases where, compared to hospital, large number of patients are in the community. And perhaps today or this time is the best time to study the epidemiology when the entire country and the world are affected very heavily with the virus COVID 19. Because this is an epidemic. Immediately with the word epidemic, we try to recall the word epidemiology. Epis is above, demos is people, and logos is knowledge. Any condition, whatsoever it is, we are used to talk in the reference to the health and disease. But otherwise, any condition which affects the populations, the people at large, is epidemiology provided we start to learn about it. Even there can be epidemiology of poverty, there can be epidemiology of corruption. But as we are medical people, we are interested in epidemiology or the knowledge regarding the health and disease conditions in the population, isn't it? So epidemiology word may be remembered as learning about the populations. And when we talk about populations, we do not just focus on the individual. This is the first thing. Second thing is we may have patient and we may start knowing about the disease from the patient. But then our intention is to extend the understanding to the community where the patients are already there. For example, if you talk about the tuberculosis, a patient who comes to the dispensary with the tuberculosis, he must have infected perhaps his family members, provided there are young children in the family. A person who comes with HIV in the dispensary or the clinic, he may have been infected by somebody who had HIV in the community. Looking to that, the clinical understanding is limited. It is very important as far as the treatment is concerned, but it is very limited as far as the consideration of the community and large picture in the community is concerned. We study epidemiology to understand the picture of a disease or a condition in this society. This society may be a state, maybe a district, maybe a country, or a world. And that's why epidemiology is definitely related to the populations. Isn't it clear? That's one thing. Whenever a particular disease or condition happens to be more than or much more than the expectation in the community, that condition is known as epidemic of that particular condition. Let us make it clear. Suppose in Palanpur, the cases of malaria, generally in the month of August, may be 1000 in a month. But suppose in a given year, all of a sudden we find the cases are 2000 or beyond. It is clearly in excess to the expectation. Please remember these terms. It has to be clearly in access to the expectation in a given locality, in a given city, in a given state, or in given community, and it's a given point of time. So the place and time are fixed. In such a situation where it is clearly in excess to the expectation, it can be known as epidemic. Suppose a community where there is no single case of a given disease. I give you an example of yellow fever. It is not present in India. And suppose even one case happens to be, that becomes an epidemic because one is much more. There was no case at all. And that's why it becomes very important to learn about that, to control it, because most of the people or almost population will not be having any experience of the disease. And whenever there is no experience, there is no immunity. There are no antibodies generated for that particular organism. So large number of people will be affected. The same situation has happened in the COVID-19 situation. So this is the best time to learn about epidemiology. Now, we knew that we are studying epidemiology to know much more about the community and the situation in that. What should we learn? We should be learning about the disease frequency. How many cases? See, every day the television, the newspapers give the figures that these many cases are occurring, these many deaths are occurring. These many cases have been proved to be infected, and these many cases have been proved to be likely to be infected. See, these are very important criteria. What we are counting upon numbers, but numbers give an idea about the situation. Suppose I say there are cases of malaria in Palanpur, it doesn't convey much. But when I say that in Palanpur there are 10 cases of malaria, it conveys some meaning. Okay, 10 cases. But then I say 10 cases of malaria in the month of June. Then you will say in June there were hardly any cases last year. If that is 10, it is worth noting down. That's why numbers do matter. Second thing, suppose we say number of cases and the cases have increased, but at the same time we shall focus on the other things. Say, yes, cases have increased, but have they affected the mortality, that is the deaths? Suppose there are 500 cases of common cold in the month of February. I think people will not be worried much because common cold generally does not kill the individuals unless they are very compromised in their immunity, like very young children. And that's why the numbers matter, the severity matters. That's the second measurement of mortality we must keep in mind. The third one, where does it happen? Is it happening in Palanpur where the facilities are available? Is it happening in the villages where there is no facility or little facility? Is it happening in a sub-center where some aid, some help is available in form of female health worker? Or is it occurring in a remote village where there is nobody to look after? So, not only numbers, the severity, the possibility of the death, possibility of the receiving the services, all these matters have to be considered when we study epidemiology. Epidemiology is always focusing on the resources available in terms of the doctors, in terms of the equipment. In COVID-19, we were thinking about the respirators, ventilators. How many of them are available? If they are not available, the serious cases will not be effectively treated. And that's very important. Okay. Then what did we focus when we talk about distribution of the disease? Because in epidemiology, we need to learn about how the disease is distributed. Distribution can be taking place in the persons, like whether it is in children, or is it only in women, or in men and women, or in the old age persons. This is related to person. Is it only in the white people or black people? For an example, in USA, is it in the rural areas? Now we are talking about the place. And after considering who persons are affected with the disease, The second question automatically comes, with what they are affected. Somebody says diarrhea, but what diarrhea? Is it watery diarrhea? It is rice water diarrhea, which is the sign for the cholera. And sometimes very watery diarrhea may be sign of the viral diarrhea. That's why if the diarrhea is with this very smelling foul pieces, then we should say that it is having some protozoa that is causing the diarrhea. Depending upon the condition, what is the condition? If there is fever with rigor, it is malaria. If there is dry cough and sneezing and some high fever, we in these circumstances think about COVID-19. So, depending upon the situation, the first question, who is affected, with what he is affected, he or she is affected. So, what is the condition? Where the person is affected? What is the place? When is the affected? That's very important. Many cases of malaria in monsoon is not much important, or unless they cross the border or they cross the norms. But many cases of malaria in winter will be a matter of real concern. Similarly, when we know that there is a hardworking people in the community, they are farmers, and we find some cases of cardiac conditions, we need to be alarmed whether their behaviors of eating, rest habits, etc. has changed or what has happened wrong with them. We need to identify. If some particular cancer is reported more, like say mouth cancer, we need to study whether this is because of the habit of tobacco chewing or so. So, what we are doing, we are identifying who are the affected, with what they are affected, that is the condition, when are they affected, where are they affected. These things are known as descriptive epidemiology. We are just describing the condition. We are not going into the details of the causes. We are describing the condition. And describing the condition is the first step. First step to understand the disease and the situation related to the disease. Once it is better understood, we will generate some tables. What is the mortality rate? Mortality rate can be counted in several ways. For example, now in Gujarat, suppose 500 deaths have been reported. One can say that it is a very small figure considering to 6.5 crore people. Out of 6.5 crore people, only 500 deaths is almost nothing, because 500 is a numerator, ansha, divided by 6.5 crore is denominator. If the denominator is very huge, the number of cases will be almost unconsiderable. We will say it is insignificant. But suppose we are counting case fatality rate. Say out of 1000 patients, there are about 100 cases which have died. So 100 divided by 1000, that means about 10% of the cases are dying. Now 10% cases dying out of the particular condition is really very high figure. That out of each 10 persons, one is dying. This figure is known as case fatality rate. That is a proportionate rate. Suppose in an OPD of about 1000 patients of different conditions, and we find, say, out of 1000, 100 cases of fever. So 100 divided by 1000, 10% are the fever cases. So we can understand that this OPD has only about 10% of the fever cases. Remaining cases may be of the different conditions. So there is case fatality rate, there is case proportion rate, and there is crude death rate. Again, after identifying the death rate, somebody may be interested in finding out that suppose we take only the deaths related to the age, in what particular age group the persons die. Say in COVID, earlier it was noted that most of the people who die more are old people, the people on the age group of 60 plus. And then we will have to plan accordingly, that old people have to be segregated, they have to be taken care perfectly so that they are not infected, so on and so forth. This sort of, say, counting the numbers and analyzing them is very important. Generally, what we analyze, the most of the important methods tell for the comparison. That suppose the person would not have this particular disease, how many persons in the normal population die at this given point of time, and how many persons die because of this particular condition? If the mortality rate is going high compared to the normal mortality rates, then it is a matter of concern. So, whenever the chance permits, a comparison will be better. And comparison between the places is also possible. What happened in China can certainly be compared with what is happening in India, with what has happened already in USA, or what has happened already in Italy as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. My dear friends, epidemiology is a very interesting subject. And that's why when we learn it, we start describing that in United States of America during last 1 month these many cases occurred, these many persons got infected, and out of infection these many cases have already reported to hospitals, and out of the hospitalized people these many have recovered, and so many persons have died. These are nothing but the proportions out of the community. Out of say 1,000 people of the community, suppose there are 500 who have been infected, suppose there are 50 who have been severely affected and come to hospital, and out of 50 suppose 10 persons are dying, it is 20% case fatality rate. Then the second part starts. Once you have due analysis, you know which age group dies more, which particular condition is affecting, at which place it is happening. Then we try to find out how the sequence has started. Where was the first case? How did it happen to be the second case? And then the chain of the cases. Was first hospitalized? What was the interval between the hospitalization and the occurrence of the case? What was the treatment provided? What was the success rate? These all things lead to analysis. This is known as analytic epidemiology. We shall be talking about that also. Epidemiology, epidemic, descriptive epidemiology, analytic epidemiology. In analytic epidemiology, two major questions: how it happens, why it happens. Once we understand this, we are perhaps finding out the determinants of the disease. Determinants means which are the factors that lead to occurrence of the disease. Once we know that these factors lead to the occurrence of the disease, it will be very easy to identify the factors that can control those factors. For example, if the disease has occurred because of the heat wave, we will ask people to go to the cold rooms or in AC or use the fans or be inside the house, something like that. If the occurrence is because of malaria, we will immediately try to find out what are the anti-malarial measures to be taken in the community for the patients, etc. So, based on the disease distribution, we try to identify the determinants of the disease. Once the determinants are identified, we need to identify the dynamics of the disease. How that particular factor causes a disease. For an example, how the malaria causes the fever, and then the entire cycle of the plasmodia, the liver stage, the RBC stage will be understood. This is the understanding of the natural history of the disease. Once we understand the natural history of the disease, this is the best part of the society of the epidemiology, where we can employ the or deploy the preventive measures or control measures. The control measures are essential to stop the spread of the infection. The control measures are required to prevent the risk factors of any disease. Two things are very important. Once the etiology is identified, we strike on the etiology. But where there is no etiology identified specifically, we try to control the risk factors as is the case with the cardiac conditions or cancer. My dear friends, we will take up these topics in the next video because so far we are talking about the basics of the epidemiology like descriptive and analytic epidemiology. Now we shall go to the uses of the epidemiology and different rates and ratios used to understand the epidemiology.